Brunswick Advisory Council on the Status of Women, and she's going to give us an update on the status of women in New Brunswick right now. It's an organization that was actually created coincidentally the same year that the Revolutionary Association of Women in Afghanistan was created, 1977. Been around a number of years, created by the provincial government back in the day when people thought we really did need watchdogs to look at issues of concern to women and to bring them to the attention of our governments. And it has managed to survive through a lot of interesting political times. It's still around today. And part of our role really is around, a big part of our role is around raising public awareness about issues of concern to women and bringing them to the attention of our decision makers, provincially mainly. Obviously, women the world over have long struggled and continue to struggle and will continue to struggle for social justice, for equality, for peace. And there remains a massive amount that needs to be done so that women can really live in, truly exercise their human rights and live in some semblance of dignity and peace and flourish. And we mustn't forget it. And I think one of the things that the Advisory Council does in focusing on women in New Brunswick is work to bring together information about women, good, evidence-based information about the status of women. And one of the things we do is every couple of years we publish something we used to call a report card on the status of women. Now we call it Status Report. It looks something like that. Change the color every time. There's copies over on the table. And why we do it basically is for several reasons. One of them is to kind of set the record straight. Because here in this country, here in this province, we've made advances, we've progressed, things have changed, but obviously women are still not equal. And yet we hear often a lot of myths out there that women are equal, that there's really no problem, and when International Women's Day comes around, notably, we hear kind of collective groans and moans go up from people saying in the media and others saying, well, what are they whining about now? Would they shut up, please? So we published this thing to say that we need to dispel myths, one of them being that women have reached equality, because they certainly haven't here, and the other being that nothing has changed, because certainly some things have changed. Before 1983, rape within marriage was not a crime. So, some things have changed, and thankfully so. The other reason we do it is to really put an emphasis on the idea that we have to have statistics, hard facts, numbers, and even though numbers don't tell the whole story, we need to have them, and we need to have it broken down by sex. Because gender matters. Throughout the world, it matters here. Women's and men's experiences are different. Their lives are different. They have different problems. And internationally, on the international scene, and even our government, at least on paper, in theory, recognizes that there is a need for something we could call gender-based analysis, using a lens that actually looks at the lived realities that are different for men and women and diverse groups of men and women. So we do that in part to say, we need the numbers on what men and women, the kind of situations they live in, their realities.
This is the first year that NBPIRG is a sponsor because it's the first year that NBPIRG has really existed. It was started just this summer, so it's the first year that we're a sponsor, and we're also involved in the fall in the Andrea Gibson benefit show that also went to RAWA. I think it's about solidarity, and it's about right now we're in a situation where our government is waging war on Afghanistan, and it's having a pretty terrible impact on the women of Afghanistan. So it's about activists, anti-war activists, peace activists, feminists in Canada saying that we don't agree with what our government is doing, and supporting women in Afghanistan who are working to make their lives better.
I think it's important to support RAWA. because with the war in Afghanistan, the situation for women has gotten even worse, even though it was justified as though it was to help the women and to liberate the women in Afghanistan. And I think all of them would argue that it's actually gotten a lot worse. And now, not only now they're placed in a situation, and I say this from having talked to Malalai Joya, who was an MP in Afghanistan, but she was saying that women in Afghanistan now are placed between two enemies, between the Taliban and the occupation, so they're definitely not in a better position. So I think it's important to support RAWA and the work that they do, because they've been doing this for a long time. Even though it's been illegal, they just keep going, and they're extremely brave. So I think that's one little thing that we can do here to help support them in their fights for self-determination.
Well, they do a lot of really good work in their home country of Afghanistan for women. The organization's been around for quite a few years now. I remember learning about it in my political science class last semester. And it's just really moving how, all these women, put themselves out there, considering really early on, the woman that started the organization was assassinated, and they keep going forward. So I think that's really inspiring. And what they're really trying to do is just make women's lives better, which really shouldn't be, like we live here in Canada, and it's like, oh, that shouldn't be that radical, but, it's such a big deal through, especially for the women there in that situation. And I just sort of, feel that whenever we're making, whenever organizations like that are making changes in their home countries, that it really, it's an example for even countries here like Canada. I think we can learn a lot by the fact, that they're still fighting and making changes. Whereas here in Canada, the sort of attitude is that, we're all equal and it's okay, and, there's nothing left to fight for, when really there's still a lot of changes that need to be made.
I'm Ella from Fredericton, and I just want to say that it's really inspiring hearing about the work that RAWA does on a daily basis, and it really inspires the work that we do here.
The war in Afghanistan isn't being waged in my name and in many people in Canada, and we're going to keep doing what we can to end the war and to support RAWA in the amazing work that you do.
Yay, RAWA! You guys do such you all do such amazing work. I can't even really put it into words. Just keep fighting is all I have to say.